Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books. And today is a book club announcement, update, and discussion, all three in one. But first, I have a special guest with me today. I would like to bring him, I'm bringing him in all my videos today. And that is Pee-Pee the Flying Chihuahua. How are you doing today, Pee-Pee? Can I have a kiss? And today is a very special day, because today is Pee-Pee's 13th birthday. And if you watch my vlogs, you know that Pee-Pee was diagnosed with heart disease like a year and a half ago, and we are so happy that he is still doing well. And I know it looks like he's ready for a nap, but he's been running around today, and we're gonna go get some treats and maybe a special dinner for him tonight. So anyway, I had him on my videos a lot when I first started BookTube, so I wanted to bring him on here today. He always sits right to my left when I'm filming videos. Sometimes he jumps down and wanders around, but then he comes back up, and I love this little guy so much. So anyway, I know a lot of you know Pee-Pee, so I wanted to bring him on the video today. Boo Radley is sitting right here, and Tucker, and they're just looking at me. So anyway, today is a book club update. I want to thank everybody that came to the last live stream. It was so much fun. I am so ready now. We have read kind of like the core classics of the books that you need to read for true crime. We're ready. Mel and I, we had the discussion at length. We are ready to get into some other stuff, some better books. And I have to say, it was Mel's suggestion that we read the book for this month, and April's book, if you don't know, is Columbine by David Cullen. And the reason that she suggested that we read the book is that it is the 20th anniversary, actually this week, of Columbine. It's the 20th of this week. She thought it would be a great suggestion for us to read the book in, honor of the victims and the tragedy that happened at Columbine, and I thought it was a fantastic idea as well. And I have to tell you, it's interesting that, she and I have had many, many discussions about our response to Columbine at the time that it happened, and I'm much older than Mel, so it's interesting. She was in high school at the time that it happened, and she's going to talk about her experience in the live stream. And, my experience is that I don't really, I remember it being on the news, but as far as like other life events, and I talked about this in my vlog the other night a little bit, as far as other life events, like 9/11 and things like that happening, I remember exactly where I was. And with the shooting in Newtown, I remember where I was, the school shooting. But I don't remember where I was for Columbine. I don't know why. I have no clue. It would have been like shortly before I graduated from my graduate program. I would have been working in the treatment center that I worked in at the time. So I don't know where I was at that time. It's interesting to me. Like, I really have no recollection of hearing about it or seeing it on the news. I do just remember, I don't remember where I was when I saw it on the news, but I do remember the news coverage of it. And I feel like every news video that I saw or footage of it was the kids running out of the school with their hands behind their head. So in reading this book, my ideas of Columbine are really a combination of what I've heard from media in the last 20 years. And it's interesting because David Cullen was one of the very first reporters that was on this scene. He was there at noon, and this whole thing started approximately at like 11:14, 11:17, if you've read the book. And so he was one of the very first reporters that was on the scene. And he did investigative research for this book for over 10 years and then put the book out. It is supposedly like the formative book on Columbine. I have to tell you, very rarely does a book affect me on this level. It is so well done. I mean, I'm not even halfway done with the book yet. I'm listening to it on Audible. One of the things that's difficult is that I typically listen to audiobooks at 1.75 or 2 times speed. I have no problem listening to books really, really fast, except for the Harry Potter books. But this one, I'm having to listen to a lot slower because there are so many details in there that I just don't want to miss anything that he's saying. It is so fantastically researched. It is one of the most fantastic nonfiction books I have ever read in my entire life, true crime or otherwise. It is so well done. And in fact, and I was talking about this in my vlog the other day, when you're reading it, it really feels as if you're like there, like you're observing it as it's happening. And there are so many details about the people that were involved, the investigators, the detectives, the SWAT team, the victims families, the shooters, their families. I mean, there's so many details in this. The town of Columbine itself, the outlying areas. I mean, it is so intricate in its details. And I really thought before I read it that it would be boring. I really, really did. Like, I had heard about this book for years, and I thought that it would just be boring. I thought it would be, you know, just facts, 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 which it is, but it's told in a way that, and by no means do I want this to sound, you know, whatsoever like I'm minimizing the tragedy, because I'm not. But when you read it, it almost at times reads like a thriller. It's bizarre. And what's scary about that is you are like kind of into what's going on, and then it hits you while you're reading it. Like, this is real life. Like, this happened. And it makes you start posing all these questions about humanity to yourself. You know, it makes you wonder, like, one of the things that he said recently in the book was that there are people that were actually in the library at, like, that was the place that most people were shot and killed, that were in the library that were less affected by people that were off campus going to lunch, because they weren't even around when it happened, because a lot of the kids had left for lunch. And, you know, it's interesting when you talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, and he talks a lot about PTSD in there, and that's one of the things I wonder. And now I'm like watching all of these videos on YouTube of like interviews, and Mel actually just sent me a thing called Columbine 20 years later, and you know, there's so many fascinating interviews out there, as well as Sue Klebold, who is the mother of Dylan Klebold, one of the shooters. Her book, her interviews on Diane Sawyer, my opinion about her has changed over time. You know, and it's interesting, I don't know, seeing all of this and reading all of it, and it has completely changed my perception of what happened. And I think that one of the most fantastic things that had happened from me reading this book is that it really personalizes the stories of the victims. It really personalizes the tragedy. Whereas before, yes, I thought Columbine was this horrific thing that had happened. And I thought that Columbine, you know, was one of the worst of its kind, you know? But I felt removed from it. Like, I didn't feel like it had affected me personally on any level. I can no longer say that having read the book. The book has profoundly impacted me. And if you watch my vlog, I literally talk about this book every night. My husband is tired of hearing about it. My best friend is tired of hearing about it. She said to me the other night, she's like, every reference point to you is this book, Columbine. It has had that much of an effect on me. It has really, really made me look at how we treat people. It has really, really made me think about being more observant around the people in my life and what they're going through on a daily basis. It's made me really be more empathetic and sympathetic to everyone, not just who I think deserves it at the moment. There is a great passage in there where Dylan Klebold's father, so the minister of one of the churches reaches out indirectly to the family, and Dylan Klebold's father responds to him and says, we need to have a funeral, but it needs to be confidential. And so he has this funeral for them. I mean, like, it almost moved me to tears listening to it. I'm not sympathetic towards the shooters, obviously, okay? I'm sympathetic somewhat to the families, because I can't imagine going through something like that, and so many people blame the parents to this day, and I understand why they do that. I really, really, I'm smart enough to understand that. But this minister, a pastor of this church, he does this confidential funeral for Dylan Klebold and his family. And there's 15 people there, including the minister and his wife and another minister and their wife that he brings. So it's a very, very small funeral. And he decides that he's not going to do this liturgy, that he's going to sit around and he's just going to have this conversation with them about what they're going through. And he says that it was 45 minutes of them just talking about it, you know? And you think about that. I think often when we read nonfiction books, there becomes a part where it becomes almost like, it feels like fiction. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to that, and the book reads so honestly and so raw that at times it almost feels like you're reading fiction. And I'm sitting there and I was listening to that part in my car, and I just thought, like, I can't even imagine. What do you say as a minister going into that situation, knowing that half of your congregation is going to hate you for doing this, and the other half of the congregation is going to congratulate you, which is exactly what David Cullen said happened, you know, that people were very upset with him for doing this, but then the other half was like, this is why we've chosen you to be our minister, because you reach out to anybody. Definitely a book about trying to make sense out of the senseless, which I think, you know, is, I don't know, kind of an autobiography of an era for us, so to speak. You know, like, there's so many senseless crimes and tragedies that happen in our world on a daily basis. we need to pay more attention to what's going on out there. I need to pay more attention to what's going on out there, and this book has taught me that. I will forever remember this book. This book, if you're not in my book club and you haven't read the book, please read this book. It is that good. It is that important, and it is that profound. So that was April's book. We're going to do the live book discussion the last Sunday of this month. Mel and I will be hosting that together live. It will be on my YouNow below. Unless that changes, I'm trying to get it changed so that I can start doing it on my YouTube channel, Peter Likes Books, but we'll see. I'll let you guys know between now and then. So then the next announcement is, what is the book that we are reading for April? And Mel and I really struggled with this, okay? Mel had some suggestions for female serial killers because we want to read some serial killer books. People seem to really respond positively to when we're reading about serial killers. I don't know why. So anyway, hold on, please. We wanted to read the main ones, like the Zodiac Killer, the Night Stalker, possibly Charles Manson, which I made a decision about. The Hillside Strangler, those, did I already say that? Anyway, Son of Sam, things like that. John Wayne Gacy, Ed Gein, who are some of the other ones that we talked about? There's like 5 or 6 others that we've talked about that we're going to try to fit into 9 months. We're probably going to end in December, possibly with another Anne Rule book, because this is something that I haven't even talked to Mel about yet, but I think it might be, we started the year with the Anne Rule book to finish the year on an Anne Rule book. People really liked her book. But there's so many things that we could cover. When you go in and you look at the best nonfiction true crime books out there, what's so interesting is that it pulls up a lot of books that you wouldn't even think of as true crime. And they're probably fantastic, but we had dedicated a year to wanting to read these kinds of books. So Mel wanted to read, she thought it would be a good idea to read about female serial killers since it was the month of May and Mother's Day, which I thought that would be great too. We're trying to pick themes for the month, if that makes sense. So she had suggested a book called Dear Dawn, which is actually written by Eileen Wuornos. I'm very interested in reading this book, okay? But it looked a little cheesy when we looked it up. It's actually written by Eileen Wuornos. Now, if you don't know who Eileen Wuornos is, she was a serial killer in Florida, and she was executed years ago. And there's 2 fantastic documentaries about her on Netflix. One is called The Making of a Serial Killer, I believe, and the second one is called The Selling of a Serial Killer. I could be wrong, though. They are so well done. And then there was also the movie with Charlize Theron called Monster. Part of Monster apparently was based on this book, Dear Dawn, which is written, we looked it up, it's about her friend. And this friend, Dawn, is in the second documentary. She's a big part of it. She takes us back to where, she takes the viewer back to where Eileen grew up and stuff like that. But that book's not going to work because it's not on Audible and it's not at everybody's library. And so we want to make the books available that are, easily available to the reader. So then she suggested a couple more books, and I was looking them up, and I was like, okay, we need to do something a little bit more mainstream. So one of the books that kept on coming up in my search for the best true crime books, because we want to read something that's going to be really engaging, a book that people can get behind. One of the books that people really liked, and this was a book that we read last year, was I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. It came out last year. It was such a fantastic book. It really spurned our interest in doing a year of true crime, and people really loved it. And I think that one of the reasons why people really loved it, including myself, was because it was current. So the book that we're going to read for May, we're not going to put up any poll. Mel and I suggested this last night, and we texted today, and she goes, I think that's a great choice. It looks really good, she said. So we decided that we're just going to go with this, and this book is called Lost Girls. Here, I'll put the thing up here. Lost Girls, An Unsolved American Mystery by Robert Kolker. And it was published in 2013, and it currently has 11,854 ratings and a star rating of 3.56. So not horrible, but not great. So let's see. Award-winning investigative reporter Robert Kolker delivers a humanizing account of the true life search for a serial killer still at large on Long Island, and presents the first detailed look at the shadow world of online escorts, where making a living is easier than ever, and the dangers remain all too real. A triumph of reporting, a riveting narrative, and a lashing critique of how society and the police let 5 young women down, said Dwight Garner of the New York Times. Lost Girls is a portrait of Lost Girls is a portrait of unsolved murders in an idyllic part of America, of the underside of the internet, and of the secrets we keep without admitting to ourselves that we keep them. And that is the book that we're going to read for this month. It is available everywhere. I've looked. It's available on ebooks and Audible, and it should be available at your library. And it's been out for a while, so you might even be able to find it on thrift books and things like that. So let me know if you guys have a hard time finding that book. I would also like to know what recommendations you guys have for books that you would really like, that should be must-read books for the true crime year, because we want everybody to be really happy with what we're reading. We've heard a lot of requests for the Green River Killer. That will probably be in there at some point too. Mel already went ahead and read a book about the Green River Killer. So, and the other thing I want to announce in this video that has gotten very, very long, I love this book club so much. I'm having so much fun with it. It's not like 3,000 people come into the live streams. It's not. It's like 30 or 60. And I feel so blessed that 30 or 60 people want to come all together and discuss a book that we've all chosen to read. And I love that. Going forward, we probably will do polls to let you guys decide what books you're going to read for the following month. So the reason why we did this was we're supposed to announce it on the 15th. It's the 18th. I didn't want to get more behind now than I already am. So let me know in the comment section below what books you would like to read. I will tell you this, and I'm going to announce it more next month. Starting on June 1st, I'm doing a 3-month read on Peter's book club of Helter Skelter, the Charles Manson book. Mel has already read it. I do not believe that we can do a year of reading true crime, and I want everybody to walk away from this, okay? My goal is that we all walk away, that we can be pretty good talkers about true crime, that we have kind of a better idea, you know, because we've read most of the main books about true crime and the people involved in all of that. I don't think that you can do that without reading Helter Skelter, which I've started so many times. So we're going to do a 3-month summer reading of Helter Skelter in addition to the books that we'll be reading for each month. If you'd like to read along with us, we're going to start it on June 1st, and I will probably do the live stream somewhere on Labor Day weekend. That means if I'm going to be around. If I'm not, I will set another date for that. So that will give us all of June, all of July, and all of August to read Helter Skelter. There will also be a book for June, a book for July, and a book for August. So it would be in addition to that. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I want to read Helter Skelter. I know there are other people that want to read Helter Skelter, and I think that we have to read it. We've read In Cold Blood. We've read The Stranger Beside Me. We've read the Michelle McNamara book, and I think Helter Skelter is the 4th one that when you look and you see like the top 10 best true crime books, those are the top 4 that always come up. So anyway, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Thank you guys for hanging around for 17 minutes and 17 seconds. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.